Okay, today we're going to talk about ignition systems. Yesterday we talked about the fuel and the air systems, how we get the fuel and the air into our engine for combustion. Now, in order for that fuel and air to explode, we need to put a spark in there, and that's the purpose of the ignition system. Up on the board, I've got the major components of an ignition system written on the board. These are our new words of the day. Do any of you have an idea on maybe what any of these words mean or what it does in the ignition system? Does anybody know any of them? Yeah, what do you got?
Isn't a spark plug like a little thing that like ignites the fuel air mixture like with a spark?
Yeah, the spark plug throws a spark right down on top of the piston to ignite that fuel air mixture. Good, we know one. Does anybody have any knowledge of anything besides the spark plug? What else?
A coil's like a snake.
What? No, the coil does not coil like a snake. But a coil is a major part of the ignition system. No matter what type of system you have, a coil is going to be involved. So what we're going to do now is I'd like you guys to get into your textbooks. You're going to break up into your groups, the 5 teams, and take out a piece of paper, and you're going to look in the Automotive Excellence book, page 417 to 435, and in the Auto Upkeep book, page 110 to 115. You're going to find out everything there is to know about all 6 of these components. You're going to write it down on a paper. You can work together, maybe make one paper for the whole group, and then we'll break out of our teams, and I'll have you give I'll choose one person from each group to give a report. Just a 2-sentence report, what the component does in the ignition system. And as a little bonus, I would like to see if you can pick the component off of our table. I've got all these components on the table. So pick up the component, show it to the class, tell them what it does, put it down, and we'll go to the next guy. All right? So go ahead and break into your groups, get your textbooks out and your paper.
I said I'm first.
Come on in. Alright guys, let's break out of our groups now. You guys got your stuff done? Everybody ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, break out of your groups, straighten out your chairs.
We're good.
I'm going to pick on someone from each group. We're just going to go right down the row in order. We're going to start with group 1. I need someone from group 1 to tell us about the ignition coil. Let's have Chandler come up and first of all see if you can pick it off the table and then tell everybody about it, what it does.
We got the coil, and the coil steps up low voltage to the high voltage needed to ignite the fuel air mixture.
Okay, there's another coil over there. This one's a little different than the one in the book, but it looks like this. Either one will work. Good job. Now when he said low voltage to high voltage, it actually takes your 12-volt system and it's going to step it up to about 50,000 volts. Now I told you a 12 volts can't shock you. 50,000 volts definitely can. So, all right, next, Rachel, why don't you guys tell us about the Coil Pack.
Okay. It's a series of coils to induce voltage for each individual cylinder, and the battery is this one.
All right. If you notice, it kind of looks like that second coil, but there's a whole pack of them. Think of a pack of wolves. This is a pack of coils. Good job, Rachel. Now, by looking at that coil pack, can anybody guess what size motor or how many cylinder motor that came off of? Yeah.
4-cylinder.
No. Yes.
8.
8-cylinder. Look, there's 8 coil towers. Okay, so this came off an 8-cylinder motor. All right, next, distributor, team 3, Brett. Come up and tell us about the distributor.
Okay, so it distributes or sends high voltage to the spark plugs one at a time through the distributor cap. And this is the distributor.
Okay, awesome. Okay, this is the distributor. Now, throughout the years, the distributor's changed a lot. This one's an electronic ignition version. The first type were just basically a switch. They called them contact points. All right, let's have John come up and tell us about a cop. And I know you've had some experience with cops before, haven't you?
Yeah.
This is a different style of cops.
Okay, COP stands for coil on plug. It eliminates spark plug wires by just using boots. So here's the top. Here you stick the spark plug inside there.
And that's all right. All right, so now with the cop, you don't need spark plug wires anymore. All we have is a rubber boot that keeps that 50,000 volts trapped inside here so it can send it right down to the tip of the spark plug. Good job. All right, last group, there's 2 items left, so you get to do both of them. Mr. Putt, why don't you come up and tell us about spark plugs and ignition module. We've already pretty much heard about spark plugs, but go ahead and give us your version.
Alright, so this is an ignition module, and it is an electric switch that times the ignition switch and amplifies the signal from the distributor.
All right, and the easy one, spark plug.
This is a spark plug, which, as Noah said earlier, it ignites and compresses the air-filled image.
All right, awesome. All right, so now hopefully you all got just a brief idea of what each of those components do. The very first ignition systems they had all the way from the Model T up until about the early 70s used what they called a breaker point ignition system. But the breaker point ignition system, I've drawn it on the board, a wiring diagram of how it would work. We have our battery, negative going to ground, a positive going to our ignition coil, okay? And I drew a little spark coming out of it to represent what it's going to do. On the negative side of the coil, it goes to a set of points. Now, you can see that set of points kind of looks like a closed switch, like we talked about when we did electrical. Now, as the engine turns around, this distributor right here rotates. As it comes to the little bump right there, see how it's on a hexagon? The hexagon will push against this little plate right here, which will push those points open. So now those points are open, which breaks the contact to the ground. Okay? So this coil builds up electricity the whole time it has power to it. As soon as we break the contact, the coil shoots out all that electricity. So it's taking 12 volts from the battery, changing it to 50,000 volts. Now every time when this turns a little bit further to the flat spot, the contact points will be closed again and it will build up voltage again. Then it turns to the next one, it'll open it again. How many cylinder motor do you think, if you have a hexagon in your distributor, how many cylinders do you think that would be? 6, yeah, exactly, 6. All right? So that's, like I said, they use these. You probably may not ever run into one of these unless you're restoring an old classic car or something. All right? I think the next type of distributor is kind of like this is a contact point distributor. This one's out of the Mater wagon we had back. I can actually show you how it works real quick. So we have a battery right here. I'm going to hook the battery up to ground. On the point, I'll just hook it onto there. No, hook it on the other side. And the positive side, and our diagram goes to the coil, right? And the negative side of the coil goes to the points, which are inside here. And now, as I rotate the coil, you guys can see that spark from back there? That's 50,000 volts of electricity. Anybody want to come and stick their finger in there? Yeah, I knew you guys would. But I don't think we're going to do that today. All right? That's about it for now. We'll talk more about this next time.